welcome to our podcast every week now after 1 p.m. I'm AJ.
And I'm Sahara. We're here to change the world one conversation at a time.
So today we're here to talk about theology in a broad perspective. We're going to dive deeper into the individual religions somewhere down the line in future episodes. But today we just kind of want to go over the broad perspective of it. I'm not a religious person. I'm not a spiritual person. I do believe something's out there. I'm just not willing to put a name on it. Theology as a whole has always kind of interested me and fascinated me. Um, from the different beliefs of different religions, the ones that differ, the ones that agree, how similar things are, how different they are, and also just some of the really out there things like it's a sin to drink caffeine.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
it just, there's some things I always have questions, and a lot of the quote unquote Christians will say you're not allowed to question, but I really don't feel like that's right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about today.
Yeah. And I am really coming from that Bible thumping background. That's what I call it at this point, is Bible
Yeah.
thumping. And yeah, where they did not encourage exploring or reading or anything. And I've been doing more of that lately in the last year or two, really in the last year completely. And starting to explore, I've mentioned it here in the last couple of episodes, maybe two somewhere, the Tao Te Ching. I'm
Hmm.
really interested in that, looking into Buddhism as the walk for that has happened. And, just as I learned about Buddhism more and the Taoism and Confucianism is in there, and just all these different beliefs that,
Yeah.
old texts from Mesopotamia, things that are coming so much longer ago and deeper ago than when the Bible scriptures came. And
Right.
never in my life, I was never encouraged to explore all that. That was just, nope, that's all paganism, and that's just not, yeah, no, no,
Right.
this is it. This is just it. And so I'm really excited to be learning new things and exploring a little bit more and seeing how, like you said, oh, this fits together and the similarities. And I found
Right.
something I've been studying, exploring, and she talks about that telephone game, and how at the end everything changes. We played that in music class, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's been really neat. And just how she talks about through that, there are some things that just stay the same. And they talk about how they match up how we got here,
Right.
or this or that. And she wants to see not how different is the message by the end, which was what we always giggle about, but what are the things that stay the same by the end? And I really
Right.
like that,
Right.
really fascinated by reincarnation and karma and talking about where did this concept of hell and heaven or sin, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, all of the religions, they all seem to have something to say about how we got here, where we're going, and our purpose while we're here.
Yeah, yeah, like
None of
just
them necessarily agree, though. Some talk about sin, some talk about heaven and hell. I mean, it's all very differing, and who's to say who's right? None of us
yeah,
will ever know, you know.
not really. There's not really anyway. I
Yep.
fell asleep to something on YouTube last night that was talking about um I don't remember the name they started called it, but it was like nothingism.
Right.
We just believe in like nothing. There's not really a purpose. We're just here, just being, just
Right.
living, just you know. It's so that's interesting.
Yeah.
It just
I mean, I grew up. We were a religious family. I grew up Catholic. I
mm,
went through the baptism, the first communion, and all of that. But we didn't really go to church when I was a kid. It wasn't
mhm.
like every Sunday you go to church. It was like you go to midnight mass on Christmas, you go on Easter, you go for the holidays, the big religious holidays you go for. And you go, you worship and you don't question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And God forbid you were in a Sunday class and had a question about the Bible, whether it be a metaphor in the Bible or a story in the Bible or even just some line of scripture.
Hmm.
You were not allowed to ask a question about it. And here's the thing, though. Can you imagine growing up in that specific religious doctrine, whatever you grew up in?
Yeah, yeah. Yours wasn't the only one that's like that. Definitely
Right,
there's
right.
different streams.
But then you go through all of this, you follow all of the guidelines that you're supposed to follow. You live your life, you die, and
Yeah,
then find out you were completely wrong.
like, yeah.
How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean,
You know, would you feel like you were duped? Would you be okay with it? I mean, personally, if I spent my entire life dedicated to this one religion, this one belief, this one deity, even, I would feel like, okay, what now? I was wrong this whole time. Now I've got to learn everything else all over again, but at least I'm learning the right thing this time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when you get there and then you know the truth, you'll know the truth. Like at the end, it's just, yeah, that's been a really interesting question for me lately because I kind of feel as I've been exploring that, yeah. I had we were planning to do this episode last week, after we record, we figure out what are we talking about next week. And
Right,
just after we did that, I was grocery shopping and I'm visiting where I haven't lived for a while
right.
and saw someone who I used to know during big Bible thumping time for me in my life.
Mhm.
And I was just really active in the church and really like teaching Sunday school and doing this and
Right.
that and the other. And so they were asking about how I was and how the kids all growing up and the grandkids. And then it comes to, and how's your relationship with Jesus? And I had to be like, in all honesty, I don't think I believe the same way you do anymore. I think I'm exploring and I'm looking and I'm feeling like there's something different out there. And some of the arguments he went into, I know those arguments. I used to do them. And I just
Right.
was like, I just, I don't know that I feel that way about those things anymore. Like there
Yeah.
has to be sin. And some of the things that now I am exploring is like there are stories from cultures that are older,
Right.
older that talk about creation and this and that and the other. And I kind of feel, yeah, I feel a little duped. I feel a little isolated, a little like, learning new things. Like we just had Easter,
Right.
just had Easter and growing up and going through all of that, there was only one way. Easter's all about Jesus. They don't even talk about where that came from in other traditions, and
Right.
how it's the spring celebration. And I want to know about these things too.
Right.
you
Because
know?
at the end of the day, nobody can say with 100% certainty. They can be
No,
passionate about it, but they cannot
yeah,
say with 100% certainty what I believe is fact.
no, 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 you just really can't. And so I really feel like, we just have to be the best we can be now and
Right.
be like, I love how the monks, we quiet, we pay attention to.
Right.
I don't know what you believe personally. I believe that as a there's something that created a creator is within every molecule of moving being. Like, I don't have to go. I understand that now when people say, I go out into nature to be my church. I understand that now in a
Right.
whole different way. And I
Right.
can't explain what I feel and know now to somebody who believes something different. Maybe
Right.
that's fine for you too. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to change. That's one thing I really appreciated about the monks walk is they, in one of his evening talks too, he talked about it. It's been so neat to be not just sleeping outside, but these churches hosting us. And he said, I don't know if so many monks have ever stayed in so many different churches.
Right.
And it's not about, they weren't all trying to change perspective or change your philosophy or your thought or your
Yeah,
theology.
they weren't preaching to everybody.
No, just the peace that we already have that exists within us.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, because some are very pushy about, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. You get the an evangelical type of
Yes.
people, and they will be like, "My way is the right way, and if you're not going to follow my way, you're going to go to hell."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and I'm happy that they found their religion that they're passionate about. I'm happy that they have their own beliefs. Everyone is entitled to their own beliefs, their own opinions. And honestly, I just don't want it shoved down my throat if I don't agree with everything that you're saying.
You show me by your life and not by your words necessarily,
Right.
you
I mean,
know?
you
That's
you can take the Bible as verbatim. Some
hmm
religions do. Some preach that it's a guidebook. Personally, I feel like it's a guidebook of stories of how they felt back then people should or humans should live their lives. I don't
there's
I don't think there was actually a bush that was talking. I don't believe Jesus was sitting in a field of cows and having conversations with them. I believe that was a metaphor for something. What that something is, I'm not really sure. It's open to interpretation. I remember when I was a kid, I used to like even back then at a young age of like 7, 8 years old, I was interested in exploring different religions. My next door neighbors were Mormons. As I said, we were Catholic. I believe you were Lutheran.
yes,
Uh,
yeah,
you
there's
know,
Lutheran.
and I knew people that were like Baptist, and I would go to church with them. And
You came with me a
and
couple times.
yeah, and kind of experience what another religion was like. And I will say, like the Mormon one, I could only go to Sunday school. Anybody who was not Mormon was not allowed inside the actual service.
Interesting.
But I do remember going to a Baptist church at one point, and I remember this so clearly. This pastor told this story. And before church had started, this woman had come in, and she was an older woman. She was very, very elderly, and she had boils all over her face and very dirty. And honestly, she looked like she was very ill.
Uh-huh.
And
Sounds like it. Yeah.
she sat in the back of the church, and everybody stared at her when she came in. And she sat in the back of the church by herself. Nobody wanted to sit with her. People got up and left the row that she was in, that she sat with them, got up and left and moved to a different row in the church so they didn't have to sit by her.
Wow.
And then before the church started as well, another couple came in with an infant and all wrapped up in clothes, but they also looked like they were homeless.
hmm
So the pastor starts telling this story about how we should treat people the same regardless of how they look, how they act, who they are, what's their status, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically treat everyone the same because we are all God's children. Well, after the service, everybody flocked to this couple with the baby, and they're giving them money and they're offering them food and drinks and, asking if they need a place to stay and things like that. And still, this woman sitting over in the corner, completely being ignored, completely being shied away from.
Mm-hmm.
And what they didn't realize was both the couple and the baby was not a real baby. It was a doll, just
Oh,
wrapped up in a blanket.
yeah.
And the both the couple and the old woman were plants. They came in costume,
Oh, okay.
and it was something that the pastor had set up and had basically meant for his parishioners to realize, oh, this couple needs help, but so does this woman. But
Yeah.
everybody still shied away from this woman, and it was kind of like an empowering yet shameful feeling
Hmm.
because even me as a child, I was like, I don't want to go near her.
Yeah,
She doesn't
no.
look like she's well, but at the end of the day, we're supposed to love everyone, so why aren't we loving this woman, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
It,
she was just
it
too
it's
far
something
out
that's
there.
always kind of stuck with me, and I don't know why. It always stuck with me, and that's kind of why I think I look at everybody and I want to get to know them. I don't want to judge them. You can believe what you want to believe. You can be who you are. I don't care if you want to walk around with green hair and, wear a skirt over your head. It's weird, yes, but that's only my opinion.
Yeah,
Like if you're happy being the way you are, you do you. It's
yeah.
not my place to judge. It's no one else's place to judge.
No,
You do you as long as you're happy. I'm happy for you.
yeah, you're not harming other people.
Exactly.
There's not, yeah, there's no harm being done. It's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no harm being done. There's no reason why. You
exactly.
know, in my opinion, doesn't even matter anyway.
Right.
Like, right? Yeah, yeah, all that, so interesting, because the Bible does, in particular, talk about loving your neighbor a lot and
Right.
those supposed tos and how we're supposed to treat people, other
Right.
people. And I think we miss that a lot. And I see that because those we're from a Christian nation, so that is a lot of what is around us in the different doctrines and you
Right.
know kinds. There isn't a lot of there aren't a lot of Muslims and that practice around. It's really interesting to see that when you find more of that intermixture of religions and different
Yeah.
religions and people starting to fight or be war, and yeah, oh, you don't look right, so I'm going to just stay away from you. Oh, you look like you might be ill and sick. And that's just not even what Jesus preached, which is
Right.
always
I mean,
interesting to me, that
according to the Bible stories, Jesus hung out with the lepers, and us as a society would shy away from people that look that way.
I
You
think,
know?
yeah, that's kind of what you were just describing with
Yeah.
that lady is she sound kind of like the leper. And
Right.
the Good Samaritan, I think, is where that one of those stories come about loving your neighbor. And
Mm-hmm.
all these who were very religious passed by this Samaritan like they were so detested.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you start looking at the history of these different religious groups, how much hate and war religion really stirs up,
Yeah.
and so different. And then that you look at something like the Buddhist monks, the Buddhist monks, cracking ourselves up. The Buddhist monks or Taoism, something like that. And are you okay? Did you recover yet?
Yeah. Good.
And they're just like, but it is just what it is. Like, let's just all have peace and it's beyond that. And there's no reason to have this fighting and war. We're out of alignment. We're out of balance. And
Right.
it's just such a different way to view the world.
Yeah. It's
I think
supposed to
that's
be
the
love
one thing
thy
that's
neighbor.
interesting.
It's supposed to be
Hmm.
love thy neighbor, but not with conditions.
No,
It's not supposed to be love
no.
thy neighbor unless they don't look like you, or don't act like you, or don't have the same job as you, or same religion as you. It's just very simply love thy neighbor.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
is it so hard of a concept? They want to
it's
follow every rule in the Bible, then follow the main rules.
exactly, and I am all for teaching people how to fish, but sometimes you just have to give them some fish, some shelter, some food, something like that, so they can have the strength and the wherewithal. And I think, you know, we see that through different
Yeah.
religions we're looking at or different philosophies, because I don't think Taoism or Buddhism necessarily thinks of themselves as a religion, not like maybe Hinduism, where, and that's another interesting thing where we're seeing these monotheism, just one God, or plural gods throughout some of these religions too. And just as Christianity did spread through the world, how they have mixed with old pagan traditions. We call them
Oh,
pagan now. I don't think they did at the time. It was just, this is the way it is,
yeah,
and I've been finding that fascinating to look at too. I'm Scandinavian, and so I was looking the other day about Norwegian fairies and then how
yeah.
some of that has intermixed with, you know.
Well, like we just had St. Patrick's Day, and a lot of the quote unquote pagans will not celebrate St. Patrick's Day because St. Patrick's Day signifies the day that St. Patrick drove these snakes out of Ireland,
Hmm.
except the snakes were a metaphor for the witches.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was basically the pagans being driven out of Ireland, and that's what everybody is celebrating and drinking their green beer with. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think they did something like that up into Scandinavian countries, Finland and
yes,
Sweden, before they
yes,
came over to America and did that
yep,
here over
yep,
in Salem. Like, it's just, yeah, it's very interesting how the spread of that particular religion has really become worldwide and how they have adopted so many other cultural traditions within them. But then they're like, no, don't look at anything else to see where we're coming from or where we've adopted it from. And so I'm just like, okay, all right. I don't know. I haven't really figured out about predestination, all of that and where that
yeah.
comes in from anything else.
Yeah, I was just actually going to talk about that because there's a lot of religions will tell you, oh well, we were given free will.
Yeah.
Now, were we given free will, or we do we assume it's free will, and do we assume that we're making those choices? Like, I got up this morning and decided to have a bagel. Did I really decide to have that bagel, or was I predestined to have that bagel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
right.
know, the choices that we make in life, are those really our choices, or is it something that's already been written? And many religions differ in that. Like, well, I know like the ones that we grew up in, they
Mhm.
preached free will, but
They
like,
also preach predestination at the same time, though. It's at the same time because you have free will to accept or not, but either you're predestined or you're not.
right. But when
At
I speak,
least the one I come from,
right, when
you
I
know.
speak about free will, though, I'm talking about the choices that we make in life, like whether they be good choices, bad choices, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The Catholic religion, at least, will preach that you have the free will to choose, and you can either choose to be sinful, you can choose to be good. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
can choose to drive your car, you can choose to ride your bike. You know, that's what they determine as free will, is being able to have a choice in life. But a lot of religions, especially some of the Middle Eastern ones, like well, Muslims, for instance, believe
Okay.
in predestination, which means from the moment we are conceived, even before we're conceived, it's predestined that we are going to be conceived, we are going to be born, we are going to do everything that we do in our lives because it's already written in stone.
Oh, like every
Every
moment.
single moment is written in stone. So there's a lot of differing opinions on that as far as free will versus predestination. Um,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different thoughts on that as far as religions go. So most religions do have a belief in free will. However, some do have more of a belief in predestination. Um, Islam has a debate over whether it's human responsibility or predestination.
Okay.
Hinduism and Buddhism, they believe in karma, which is basically every positive or negative action that you take in life determines your destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
I kind of like that as a whole because it just you still have your free will, but there's going to be consequences if you don't make good choices.
For what you
Um,
choose. Yeah.
and again, there's no real way to 100% know for sure who's right or wrong.
Not really. Not
The,
really.
I
Like
mean,
we're all just walking around kind of blind here.
yeah, I feel like the best thing we can do as human beings is to live our lives to the best of our ability and not infringe on somebody else's human experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think so too. It's just really, I mean, some religions I feel get pretty pushy. I probably have been pretty pushy about mine in the past.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I really experienced it this weekend. I was at one of the Saturday market and somebody got up on their, pulpit in the corner and they were preaching heaven and
yeah.
hell and be saved and all of those things. And it was loud and it was an experience. And
Mm-hmm.
most people were not gonna, I don't know that anybody was going to get changed or swayed by that kind of pushiness.
Right.
They definitely attracted some negative attention and some making fun of them around it. And a lot of people just being like, okay, yeah, no, I mean, you're just trying to shove that down my throat, like you were talking about earlier. And
Yeah.
it sounded like a bunch of just noise. It wasn't like showing love. I'd
Right.
rather see, no matter what you believe, get out and actually do something productive and loving in your community. Like we talked about the empathy projects coming up,
Exactly.
get something like that going on. And I feel like that is a much better way to just show people the way, whatever that way is. So yeah, it's been an interesting thing, but and we've talked about the difference between religions and cults. And I know you had something to say a little bit more on, being religious, being in a cult and kind of caught in a cult, or just being spiritual. I think those are, things that I'm looking at a little bit more.
Well, just going off of what you were saying a bit ago about, being in a space like that where somebody is being very evangelical.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, that when I'm in a situation like that, it makes me very uncomfortable because I feel like I'm being judged for
Mm-hmm.
not believing. And they don't know what I believe. They're not talking to me directly, but they don't know what
Yeah,
I believe. But I feel like I'm being judged by these people who aren't talking to me. And it
yeah,
makes me feel very uncomfortable. And I will get up and leave when that,
yeah,
because I don't like that feeling of, I'm not the type to judge someone for what they believe. And I feel like I should have that same respect. But
yeah.
a lot of religions do kind of
Doc.
walk that fine line of, are you a religion or are you a cult?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, like go knock on so many doors and I'll get you into heaven. Like you gotta
Right.
convert,
Yeah.
convert, convert, and that's just, I don't know. And that charismatic leader that's typically trying to get just everybody paying attention to them.
Exactly. And that's the
You
biggest
know?
difference between a religion and a cult. A religion is basically generally an organization of people with similar beliefs and faiths,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
whereas a cult is surrounded by some leader who's usually very charismatic.
Drink the
And
Kool-Aid with me.
exactly, yeah, and
Sorry, guys.
what they will try to isolate their followers from the outside world to keep themselves as the leader and the sole purpose for them being there. It's a very narcissistic job being a cult leader from what I have researched. Never
Yeah,
experienced it
yeah.
myself, I don't know for sure, but it seems like a very narcissistic position, and you have to have a key set of skills in order to do that.
Very much of a
Because it's very much it's
isolating.
yeah, it's very much, you're going to pay attention to me and no one else. And if your family wants to come with you, they're going to pay attention to me and no one else. If they don't want to come with you, you're not going to see your family.
Yeah, yeah. If you leave, then you're not going to be able to have contact with us anymore. You're either it's us and them. us
Yeah,
and the world kind of
yeah.
thing.
But
Everybody
we
else
can't.
is wrong.
But we can't let you leave.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Just very well. I mean, so many different organized worldviews out there,
Right.
and it's hard to put a finger on who is right, who is
Right.
wrong. Are any of us right or wrong? Or, we can't go back in history and be there on the day everything started. The chicken or the egg, people. That's the whole
Yeah.
discussion, right?
Nobody is 100% positive. You can think you're 100% positive, but nobody is actually 100% positive that their beliefs are correct. And honestly, the whole point of this conversation is not to bash anybody's beliefs. It's more to make you realize that your beliefs aren't the only beliefs out there, and that doesn't mean that your beliefs are wrong or right. It just means they're your beliefs.
Yeah, yeah, sure we're going to be talking more and more about all the different ones that there are out
Oh,
there here
definitely.
and there. We haven't even touched on Native American or
Right. Yeah,
African. There's so many neat stories in there, like the
there are.
Anansi spider. I'm not sure exactly where we were talking about predestination and free will and those time weavers in some ancient
Right.
story about being in the cave. And I am always fascinated with that one. And, as we're just almost turning 50, it's just feels like I'm just entering this conversation of what's going on in the world, what's going
Definitely.
on with different religions and such. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I just want to, say thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, definitely. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, even though I'm not a religious or spiritual person. So I really am looking forward to diving deeper into each individual religion in future episodes. So hopefully we'll be doing that soon. So you can check out our Patreon. You can also follow us on Instagram or Facebook. If you want to join the conversation, have ideas for future episodes, or just want to talk, feel free to email us at the link down below. Um, and please like and subscribe to this video and hit that notification button to get notified every time we drop a new episode.
Yeah, definitely. We look forward to talking to you again next week. Thanks for joining us today. New episodes drop every week, Thursday at 1:11 p.m. That is United States, New York time, Eastern. I don't think we're in daylight savings now, not standard, right? So
I
all
have
that good
no
stuff. I know, I know. Spring forward, fall back. Oh,
idea.
maybe someday we will talk about all of that over here, but for now, next week we're going to be talking about adult relationships, friendships, um,
Found
friends who
family.
are chosen family, all that good stuff. I think that's going to be, I look forward to that conversation.
Yeah, me
So we'll
too.
see you again next week. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great day.
Every week now, after 1 p.m., Aaron AJ, bring it